One of the main ways that interest groups tell the government what they want is through lobbying. And lobbying is just an appeal from a citizen or group to their legislator, their elected officials, for favorable policies and decisions. So it's basically just saying to your congressman, your senator, or at your state representatives in your state government, what have you, hey, this is a policy I support, or this is a policy I don't support, sponsor this bill, vote against this bill, what have you. Now, that logic is pretty clear, right? You want your Congress member or senator or, again, state or local representative to do something, so you tell them. And that's the essence of lobbying. Now, you as an individual are not going to have a ton of ability to really convince your Congress member to do something, so typically we want to group together and ask them for something. And once we've grouped together, we probably have some resources behind us, so it's best to hire a professional, someone who really understands government, who understands things like issue networks, the different committees and committee members, and bureaucratic agencies involved in the thing that you care about. And this dynamic and these connections and knowing people in the bureaucracy and on these committees can help sort of get access to your Congress members and can maybe persuade them a little bit better, if they're friends or colleagues in the past. It's going to just go better. So it makes a lot of sense for the public to actually want lobbying because it's a way that we can tell Congress members and other elected officials what we want. Now, why does the government want lobbying? Right? It's one thing for us to say, hey, we want it. We want to tell our government what we prefer, what we want them to do. But why does the government want this? Well, they kind of want to be told what we want. Remember, there are such high information costs and there's so much that has to get done that Congress members actually would really appreciate someone coming into their office and saying, hey, look, a ton of your constituents care about this. Why? Well, because Congress members do want to represent their constituents, right? Even if they're trustees, they still do want their constituents to be happy. And if they're acting as delegates, they certainly want to pay attention to what their constituents want. And we know it tends to be in between delegate and trustee with the Politico mode. And again, they need to know what their constituents want for that. They just want to know. They want to get reelected. And they are helped in their reelection if they know, hey, a bunch of my constituents care about this. They'll probably vote for me next time if I do it for them. So it makes a lot of sense for Congress members and, again, other elected officials to want to know what the public and what their constituents care about. It also can help provide political and technical information. So it can lower information costs by saying, hey, this is what people care about. And they can also provide information like, hey, here's a draft of a bill. We obviously can't propose it. We're lobbyists, right? Lobbyists can't propose anything. It has to be a sitting congressperson who proposes something. But here's a bill. It's basically ready for you to propose. Now, clearly, Congress member will look it over, have their staff read it, make sure it's all good. But now they don't have to take the time to draft it and have their staff take the time to draft something, right? And it's probably going to be better than what they could draft anyway because the lobbyist is an expert in whatever issue area they care about. And they have behind them policy experts in that issue area. So the lobbyist is going to probably be able to draft a better bill, or I should say have a better bill drafted than the Congress member anyway. So rather than having to talk one-on-one with constituents, which takes a lot of time, poll, which takes a lot of money and effort and are not hideously reliable on the scales of congressional districts, and then draft a bill and have these experts there in your office to draft it when we know congressional staffs aren't that big. Instead of having all those things, we have a lobbyist coming in and telling us all of them. That's much, much easier. If you're a Congress member, a senator, a state representative, that is much, much easier for you than having to work it out yourself. So there's a lot of logic from both sides as to why we have lobbyists.